I'm sorry, I'm a bit arrogant. We have a top manager.
Let me talk.
I think I'm a special one.
Time to go! Let me talk.
Everywhere you go, there's meat pies, and I'm surprised that Americans haven't embraced this, because this could be like the greatest thing on earth.
You are now listening to the Meat Pies podcast, your podcast for most things footy and few things pie. This is Forrest, and I'm joined today by Gabe, but more importantly, we're joined by Greg Maday, successful entrepreneur and chairman and CEO of SpecChem, big time players in the concrete industry, but more pertinent to this podcast, he is co-owner of Sporting Kansas City of the MLS and a member of the ownership group Sporting Club. If we read your whole CV, we could be here for a while, so we'll just cut it there and say thank you so much for taking the time out of your incredibly busy schedule to join the show.
Yeah, well, nice to meet you both. Glad to be here.
So we got initially connected through my mom, Ann, Kansas City native, and
shout out.
University of Missouri alum. I believe she told me that you and my Uncle Joe were in the same fraternity. Is that true?
Uncle Joe and I were roommates. Yeah.
Okay.
He used to leave a spit cup in the window. Well, yeah.
That sounds exactly like him. I'm not surprised.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about your time there at Mizzou in Columbia, and I guess where your passion for sports generally comes from?
Sure. Well, so I grew up in Missouri, St. Joseph, Missouri, which is just a little bit north of Kansas City. Close enough, far enough away that we were our own little city, but close enough that we were big fans of all things Kansas City. So I was a big Royals fan in the 70s when we won everything with George Brett and Hal McRae and all those guys, Amos Otis. Kansas City Kings fan. You guys weren't born when the Kings were playing in Kansas City in 1985 with Sam Lacey and Scotty Wedman. And of course there wasn't a soccer goal in Northwest Missouri. We certainly didn't have one in our town of St. Joe, 72,000 people, and only the rich schools down in Kansas City played soccer. Went to University of Missouri because that was sort of my only, option, that or join the Army. And I had a great time, spent 4 years at Mizzou, got a degree in finance. We had sort of a mediocre football program at the time, but a really good basketball program. And, I was just a big fan of all things sports. But again, growing up, when I grew up in the Midwest, where I grew up, it was baseball, basketball, and football, and American football. And, I played on the golf team 4 years in a row in high school, and all my buddies made fun of me, play golf instead of some other man sport. And until we got older, and then they all want to play golf. So
yeah, I was gonna say.
So I got even with them later in life, but. So I met your, social school, fun school, Mizzou, good state school. Like I said, I was roommates with your uncle, and I were both in the same fraternity. We had a lot of fun together, Joe. And then I met your mom there, Ann, who I hadn't seen her forever, and then ran into her at a football game this last fall.
Yeah,
it was great to see her. Yeah.
Yeah, she texted me that picture and was like, look who I ran into. And I was like, oh my God, no way. That's so cool. She would always say my uncle had a little bit too much fun at Mizzou.
He got a couple of chances at it. It was good. Joe did fine. Took him a while.
But hey, we're here now. That's all that matters.
We say the same thing about Forrest. We said the same thing about Forrest, UW.
Rumored.
No.
Took him an extra semester or two to get out. That's all right. Didn't notice just rushing it.
No. Exemplary student. Definitely made some of us look not so great.
Well, it was always confusing because Forrest's mom was so smart, and then Joe was just sort of easy going. Not that he wasn't smart. He just, he just was in no hurry.
Yeah, I think she told me a story when I was a kid that, one day her freshman year, she was walking to class in the morning and she passed Joe going the other direction, wheeling a keg with him back to the fraternity. And she said that kind of encapsulated their experiences.
Those were different times, but that what doesn't surprise me.
So
All good, clean fun. But anyway, so I played a lot of sports in high school, but I wasn't good enough in college, but just a big fan. So who's not?
Yeah, no, of course. And so, I mean, you've had a bunch of different professional titles. You've worked in a lot of different fields and been pretty much successful everywhere you've went. But I guess the world of sports ownership is a bit mysterious to just sort of the average fan like us, maybe. And so, how do you ultimately get involved with Sporting KC or with the ownership group, and especially for someone who maybe soccer wasn't on your radar previously?
Yeah, so that's so I was lucky enough to be able to buy my first business when I was 27 years old, and it's a similar business to what I'm in now, but Forrest was making fun of it a little bit, and he should. It's I'm in a specialty chemical business for concrete. I mean, there couldn't be anything more boring, right? I mean, if you want to kill a cocktail conversation, talk about curing compounds for concrete.
No, to be fair, sorry to interrupt you, but to be fair, the program I'm actually in right now in Scotland is called Environment Development, and a lot of people are very invested in sort of those fields, and looking at how we can make those fields sort of more carbon friendly and all those sorts of things. So there's a lot of interest amongst some of my friends.
There's a lot of interest there, but there's not, Gabe. It's still somewhat. I mean, the environmental impact of it may be sexy, and trying to modify that may be sexy, but concrete in itself is really sort of sand, cement, and water. And not that exciting. But anyway, we had some success in that business, and my wife and I sold that when we were 35, and then I was looking for some other things to do, and I had a friend that was hard charging, and he had befriended the Hunt family and Lamar Hunt in particular, and Lamar was interested in somebody building a soccer specific stadium for him in Kansas City. He owned the Kansas City Wizards, is what they were called in Kansas City. He was one of the founders of Major League Soccer in 1996. He built the first soccer specific stadium as it's recognized on the fairgrounds in Columbus, Ohio. And it was, kind of a glorified, sexy high school football stadium, but it was built specifically for soccer. And his contention was that just like the American Football League, that just like football changed for the better in America when they quit playing in baseball stadiums. They started playing in football stadiums. And his belief was that if we get soccer in soccer specific stadiums, that will improve. So long story short, we started out as a project to go build him a stadium. And then he said, hey, the league is changing its position here. And I think he and Phil Anschutz and the Crafts owned, I can't remember, 6, 7 of the 12 teams at the time. And they're saying this is not healthy for the league. We want one team, one owner, one team, one ownership group, which is what you have today. And he said, would you guys like to buy the team? And that was sort of the beginning of it. We said, well, let's look. And at the time that, team buying the team wasn't hard, but funding the team was hard because they were losing money every year. And so I said, this is a rich man sport. And I happened to know a couple of guys that had some success, and I called them up, and they were running a parallel track and were very interested in it. And those were the 2 founders of Cerner. here in Kansas City. And, long story short, a couple of years later, when even that, about 12 months later, group of 6 of us bought the Kansas City Wizards from Lamar Hunt, from the Hunt Sports Group, and started playing in 2006. So, and we played at Arrowhead Stadium where the Chiefs played. And so it was sort of serendipitous. I mean, we weren't out looking for a team. We didn't have a strategic planning session and say, okay, soccer in America is going to grow. Let's go invest now. The opportunity presented itself. I had, anecdotally, so I had 2 kids at the time that both did nothing but play soccer, right? I was the baseball coach. You guys don't know this, but when you have children and you send your children to kindergarten and then the parents all kind of divvy up responsibilities, like you be the soccer coach, you be the football coach, you be this. I was the baseball coach because I knew all the rules. Kindergarten, every kid came out. By 6th grade, I couldn't get 9 kids, boys or girls, to play baseball, but they were all playing soccer, right? So given the chance, I was like, okay, I think there's something here. And that was about as scientific as it was for us when we all bought the team. We all kind of were just anecdotally seeing a growth in soccer and the opportunity. And we did it. We closed on September 1st of 2006. Eddie Johnson was our striker.
Wow. That's really fascinating because it's kind of the opposite of what I would have thought. I would have assumed it was, kind of a long-term search and, very meticulously planned over several years. But I guess, yeah, sometimes an opportunity just presents itself and seems like a good idea.
And in fairness to Lamar, he had a group out of Philadelphia. I think it was out of Philadelphia that would have paid him more, but he wanted to keep the team in Kansas City. He owned the team in Columbus. He owned the team in Dallas. And he owned the team in Kansas City. And of course, he owns the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
And so he's got that connection to Kansas City. And so he thought he was putting it in pretty good hands, and it turned out to be a pretty good story.
Very cool. So what exactly does your role as co-owner look like on a day-to-day basis? Like, what do you oversee and what types of decisions are you tasked with?
So our ownership group is now consists of 5 families, and those are 5 of the original 6. One of our original members moved to California, and the thought was we'd buy him out because we were all local Kansas Cityans, and this was going to be a Kansas City thing. So that happened like a year later. So, you can't have 5 families run a team, right? There really just needs to be a leader.
Sure.
My friends from Cerner, the Pattersons, and the Illigs were the majority shareholders, so it made sense that they, be our leaders in this. And so their group, so we have a board of governors. I'm on for sporting, and I'm one of our managers, and they're the other 2 managers, and I represent the quote unquote, the minority shareholders. And so my role today as it's developed is, we approve budgets, we approve strategy. We all kind of get in a room and agree on that. But the Illig family today, Mr. Patterson, Neil, sadly passed away a few years ago. So he and his son, Cliff and Michael, pretty much implement and make all the day-to-day decisions with regards to, what forward we're trying to bring in from Brazil, or what center back we're trying to bring in from, pick a league. So it's Forrest, it's kind of, I can be as active as I want. Spring training is going on right now in Scottsdale. They're all down, staying at the Hyatt Gainey Ranch. They're playing. I could be down there. Well, I'd be at the Phoenix Open if I were down there today, but you could be down there.
I'm going on Saturday, actually.
You should. I wish I'd have known. I had really good tickets.
Be safe.
I've got 2 Sunday tickets if you want them.
It is, you're nice, but wait, so I could be down there if I wanted to be, but I'm here working. So I still have a day job. So then I started up a business back, like similar to the one that I sold.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is I started that on I closed on that the exact same day we closed and buying the Wizards. So September 1 of 2006. So I'm the chairman and CEO of this company, and I spend most of my time here because this is where I have control and this is what generates the revenue to help support all the other activities.
Sure.
So, I get a lot of my information on the team from my 22-year-old son, who's a senior down at Mizzou. He's down at Mizzou, and he'll catch it on Instagram or social media before I do,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we understand Pat Mahomes recently joined the ownership group.
Right.
How
That was big news in the soccer world, by the way. That was really big news.
That was cool. So he is as good a guy as he is a quarterback. And he wants I think he wants his legacy to be a good Kansas Cityan and a strong Kansas Cityan, and obviously he's doing that as our quarterback for the Chiefs. But he has a piece of ownership in the Kansas City Royals, I believe.
Yeah.
And he wanted to own a piece of Sporting, and we're not really. Frankly, we're not looking for new owners, right? But we just thought there were so many, whether it's just, the coolness of him being an owner, plus plus all of the marketing aspects of it. And he has, for the last several years since he's been in Kansas City, been coming to a lot of our important matches. I met him when he first got here, and frankly, not that many people knew him. And now when he comes out to a match, he has to have security all around him. And that's just happened in the last 4 years and 5 years in Kansas City. But he's a great guy. We had the last playoff game, which we sadly lost to Salt Lake in the last seconds. I'm pulling into the garage there, into the loading docks, and here comes this new cool white SUV. And I'm getting out of the side of a Suburban or something, and I just see the door open, and this number shines on the concrete drive, number 15. It was the bottom of his car when he opens the door.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, this is cool. This is cool.
Yeah.
So he's a big fan, and his wife is I don't know if they're married yet or not, but his fiance and soon to be wife is a part owner of the women's team here, the Current. And so I think she played in college. I'm not sure.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure she played in college in Texas somewhere, where they're from. So that's kind of why I thought, it made a lot of sense. Obviously, like you said, the marketing aspect, but just the kind of familial connection, I'm sure.
Yeah. And so he's it's not, he's been a fan from the get-go since they've been in town. So that's cool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we feel your pain on the Salt Lake thing, where I'm assuming you're not a big fan of them, just like we are in Seattle. That was a pretty I don't know, suspect way for the Sounders to go out this year as well. In a really shocking Salt Lake performance that they just nipped a result off of us too. So not big fans of theirs.
And it completely opened up the home field advantage all the way through the MLS Cup for us all. We just needed to take care of business, and I think it was Bobby Wood, headed one. It wasn't like they were bad players. We just didn't pay, we just broke down for a second. Oh, it's painful.
Yeah. Well,
but anyway, it's fun. It's fun to have Patrick, as part of the ownership group. Candidly and obviously doesn't come to a lot of owners meetings because he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's,
right.
And with COVID, he's not been able to really, we had to keep him, quarantined, and there's certain protocol I think the Chiefs had. So.
Yeah. And maybe there's a role for Jackson as a, marketing, social media, creative manager potentially.
I don't follow Jackson, but my kids do. I think Jackson's got enough stuff going on. He's
He's a busy guy. He's a busy guy,
He's
and
a
plus
busy
your social media team does do an awesome job. So
I think they
I'm
do.
sure they don't need too much help. But I do maybe have a little bit of I guess an axe to grind with you all, and maybe some karma there involved. You guys getting knocked out this year, because just sort of prepping for this interview and looking back at some things. What made you all change? I mean, obviously it's been a successful change. Sporting KC is, becoming one of the more recognizable brands in American soccer. But like something about Kansas City Wizards, like the logo, the old kits. I know you guys do a little bit of retro stuff now, but what were you involved at all in the rebranding process? Because like there's some really cool Wizard stuff out there, and I think it needs to be back in the league, in my personal opinion.
Well, there was I certainly was around when we were doing the rebranding. At the time, Rob Heineman was our president of the team, and he's one of our owners and a good friend. And I remember the first time he started talking about, and there were some issues with the Wizards, right? And the Wizards basketball team in DC. And there was,
Right.
it ultimately was going to come to a head, I think. And so we thought maybe the best way to handle that was to rebrand. But I remember the first time that I heard Sporting KC, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna give tickets to who? I'm gonna give tickets to my barber to the Sporting. I mean, I just didn't get it. But then you saw it start to come together, and this whole concept of Sporting KC was that, we live in a weird place here in Kansas City. State line goes right down the middle of our city, right? So there's Kansas City, Missouri, there's Kansas City, Kansas, there's different little suburbs. And, the way they started bringing the whole community together, and in our shield, that the little line that goes down and over represents the state line. And, that we're all one. And we got around and we changed the colors. And I remember the night we did the announcement, we were down at the Power and Light District here, which is sort of our hipster outdoor area. And Rob got on stage to announce it. And it was kind of like, keep the car running in case I get pelted with stuff and I've got to jump off and go. And everybody liked it. And then the more and more people started embracing it. And then we won. Winning helps. Sure. And so as a result of that, we do have the coolest retro jerseys in the league, hands down, when we go back to the Wiz.
Oh yeah.
I miss the Wiz a little bit, but if somebody somewhere teaching a class of rebranding, Sporting ought to be one of their case studies, because I think our team did a great job on that.
No, you definitely did. And we've seen also, I mean, you guys were kind of on the front of this wave of American soccer teams sort of pushing a little more of the European like football club style. Right. So you guys kind of started that trend in a lot of ways, and got out ahead of it. And now it's proven to be really, really successful. And the connections between soccer here and soccer overseas are getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So it makes sense.
So it's been a lot of fun. And if you're a Sounders fan, you're one of our nemesis along with Portland, but they do a great job as well. I mean, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch the commitment. And we did. And again, that was all part from the beginning. And it was a lot to do with Rob, that this was going to be a club about membership. It was going to be a club.
Right.
And the fans were fans, but they're members, and they're part of the team, and they're part of the club, and that, had some say in some early decisions about how we did some marketing and things like that, and still do.
Of course. No, I mean, there'll always be a lot of opinions, but I guess kind of turning our eye towards the future now. We've seen the likes of Gianluca Busio going overseas and crushing it in Serie A, and lots more talent coming through KC in the last couple of years. What would you say is like the overall vision of the club, or the overall goal for the club and the MLS going forward? Like obviously it's to win MLS championships, but is there like a specific, niche KC is trying to occupy or, innovate in?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. You said it. I mean, we are all about winning championships. We want to win championships. And Peter, I've never met anybody in my life as intense as Peter Vermees. And he stands in his box right between me and the goal on the other end. And I can't sometimes see, and I'm scared to ask him to move, from my front row seat, because, that's just how intense he is on the game. So we want to win championships. We think building championships, winning championships is a result of a lot of things that you do in building. It's Cliff will tell you that it's all about excellence in everything that we do, right? I mean, so we built one of the first school soccer specific stadiums that was, we won awards around the world. We had to go get for a great stadium. Our practice facility is second to none. If you've ever seen our training facility, it's phenomenal. All that costs money, and it didn't, and those were investments. And then, academy, we've invested heavy into our academy. And, investing heavy in the academy is investing in facilities for the academy. Like when my kids were playing soccer, they were playing on old football fields, and, the ball bounces the way the ball bounces. And now they're playing on state-of-the-art pitches that are phenomenal. So that's a big part of it. There is, in the business of soccer, we like homegrown players. We like developing our own players. I think MLS has got a lot more work to do around that. You see that. So everybody kind of has a territory now.
Yep.
Wouldn't everybody like to be Dallas, FC Dallas, because they've got a pretty good territory, and look how they're doing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the kid who started, he's not a kid, he's a young man now, but to me he's a kid, who started the like Peppy train sort of craze. It's actually one of my friends from camp from growing up. He's the social media director, or one of them for Dallas. He was one of the first guests that we had on the podcast, actually. So we talked a lot about sort of the homegrown sort of emphasis that they're putting on everything down there.
So that's a big piece for us. And so you have, you're developed. So having the academy all the way up through our second team, the Peter and his coaching staff, the players that we're going to see this year were playing on that second team last year, some of them, and getting the time, again, I never played soccer, right? It didn't exist when I was a kid, but if you guys played, you have to have time on the pitch. And so I think that's, one of our objectives and goals is to produce homegrown players, and then be very strategic about, transfers and other things like that. And our team and our staff have developed a pretty good scouting team from around the country, around the world, actually. And we've been pretty fortunate. And we haven't missed on too many. We'd like Alan Polito to be playing this year, but he's, he has an injury, and he'll be back next year. We've seen that before. So I don't know that there's any magic to it, other than you have, like, the ownership group, are all business people, and they understand that the commitment to success is, starts with good people and good programs and good strategies. And it's not, we don't get overwhelmed with, like, okay, let's go out and get Michael Bradley, when Michael Bradley was going to Toronto for $1 zillion. They're like, that doesn't make sense, right? And so anyway, I don't think there's anything magical, but that's sort of that's in a nutshell the approach. I mean, and I think you'll see it on the pitch this year. We'll have a number of homegrown players, and we'll have some veterans that we were able to re-sign. And I think probably they could have maybe gone somewhere else for a touch more money, but they want to stay here, finish their careers here. and then you sprinkle that with some transfers, and off you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that absolutely
I'm-
makes sense. Just like you said, the commitment to excellence from the top. I feel like that's a characteristic of, successful organizations across all sports, and it really
And-
seems like Casey is committed to kind of like growing the game just in general. Like you said, it didn't exist for you growing up, but if more kids in the region are playing, chances are much higher.
And playing on top quality fields with
Right.
with maybe more importantly with quality instructors and training and wellness and fitness and all the stuff that goes with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, and you see like a lot of, you mentioned sort of having winners at the top, but also, as you said too, like winners in the squad as well. I think a lot of MLS clubs right now are sort of trying to find their balance between like, emphasizing the homegrown thing and sort of banking in on having exports leaving the club, so to speak. But also having like veterans that can actually win you matches as well. And I mean, in terms of having vets, guys like Graham Zusi and even I know Matt Beasley just retired, but like
Roger
Johnny
Espinoza
Russell,
and those,
like
Russell's-
Johnny Russell gave us so much trouble in Seattle. I went to the match in Seattle this past year, and I actually hate him now, but
but he gets going.
but
He's
he's
so
a winner.
sweet. Oh my God.
He's a winner though. Like I mean, no one wants to come and play in Seattle, and he was just absolutely relishing it. And same with Graham Zusi. I mean, the guy's 35 playing right back, who grew up as a midfielder, like unbelievable. So just kind of winners like across the board, really, really good balance in the squad.
Well, and you take Roger Espinoza, and then would we love to have, could we have used Buzio in that run at the end of last year? Of course, but I mean, isn't it great to launch him off and get the experience he's getting? And, that's the hardest part. That's kind of the hardest part about getting attached to these teams, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
until MLS is the premier league in the world, and maybe someday it will be, our best players are going to go play in that premier league, right?
Yeah. Well, so speaking of the Premier League and trying to get attached or maybe not too attached to a club, it just so happens to turn out that I am like I can't say lifelong, but I'm pushing a decade now supporter of Everton. And there were, I mean, not just rumors, like it seems, really like substantial reports that you all were interested in taking a look at buying Everton around 2015. I don't know how you feel about that now, how much you can talk about that, but I mean, I just want to ask as an Everton supporter who is incredibly frustrated with the way things currently look at the top, just like pretty much every single Everton supporter is. Why did you not do it? And also, I don't blame you, but also why did you not buy Everton?
That is, so I never made the trip. There was so I wasn't in that inner circle at the time. So maybe a way of dodging that question is, we're just committed to Kansas City and doing all that we could do here, and the investment that it takes, here. I just think MLS is going to be, I don't know where you guys have put it in the world of leagues, but I think we're going to be in the top 3 within pick a time, not a long time, a decade, right? Maybe more. But to do that, we just got to keep investing here. We're going to invest in facilities and players. And I think ultimately that's kind of, that was the decision. We kind of did like, let's run with the one that, brung us kind of deal. And there are opportunities and that's a big boy. That's a big person league there with big, requires lots of investing. So I like Everton. It's, but we're just happy. Kansas City is where we want to be. We're right here. We like it. This league's expanding. It's good. So does that dodge your question?
Yeah, no, I'll take it. I really cannot blame you. I was Everton played Newcastle 2 nights ago, and I went to the match in Newcastle, and I know Kansas City people and that part of the country is maybe a bit slept on, and they're tough people in those parts, but something like a drunk angry Liverpudlian is a bit different. Yeah. It's a different beast altogether. So I definitely don't blame you for maybe dodging that. Yeah.
It's a great league. They're a great team.
Totally.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
So we want to get you out of here. We don't want to take up too much of your time, but just to finish up with some more KC specific talk, we're just generally curious about American Royal and your experience there. And I think Gabe said you have a barbecue stand there, something like that.
It's world famous.
What's the world's largest barbecue? It's the absolute best barbecue. So there was a time. So that's the origin of my story, how I got involved with sporting. So I've been on the board of the American Royal since '93.
Wow.
I know, I was a kid. Came off 99, 2000-ish. Neil Patterson became the chairman of the board, and he asked me to rejoin. I didn't really want to, and I said I would. And he said, okay, I owe you a favor. And, years later, so we became buddies. And years later, that's who I called when we discovered that Lamar wanted to sell the team and not just have somebody build him a stadium. And Neil was one of the founders of Cerner, and then he and his partner Cliff took it from there. But that's the American Royal is how I could tie sporting, the origins of me being in sporting, back to the American Royal. It is the world's largest barbecue. It sells out. It is sold out all the time. It was so big we had to move it to the racetrack out next to our stadium. So it's in one of these big giant, the Kansas Speedway ovals. Teams from all over the world. The early winners were Rich Davis, who went on to start Casey Masterpiece Barbecue, which sold the craft for tens of millions of dollars. And so the American Royal is a lot more than a barbecue, but that's the most fun part. It's really about when you live in the middle of the country, we don't have mountains and we don't have oceans. So agriculture is what we have, and we celebrate that. And so the American Royal is sort of the celebration of agriculture, culminating with, rodeos and fun events, but most famous for the barbecue. You got to come. If you've not been, you've got to come. I bet of course, Uncle Joe's been out there many times.
Oh, I'm sure. But what's kind of crazy is, I've always, of course, been aware of, the livestock history and significance of Kansas City and like the United States, but I don't think my mom has ever mentioned American Royal to me. So I just kind of found this on my own. Like, I could be wrong. She might deny that, but we used to go back every year, at least once a year, until I was about a freshman in high school. And I don't know if I've been back since, but never once was that brought up as a possible event for us to attend.
It was always in September. It's moved around a little bit, but the barbecue was always kind of around Labor Day-ish. And oh my God, it hundreds of thousands of people. And it's just, it's a moving party. You have everybody out there barbecuing, and they set up, and there's bands, and it's a 3-day, 2-night party.
Yeah, it sounds like a blast, and it's something that would be right up my alley. Barbecue is one of my favorite cuisines, unquestionably. I seek it out in every city and I've lived in. So maybe I'll have to make a trip out.
Oh yeah, you come back. I'll take care. So and I went on to become chairman of the American Royal one year, and still active in it. And it's a cool thing for our country, and it's a really cool thing for our region.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's unbelievable. You were chairman. I genuinely thought you just had like a a stand that was well known. That's pretty neat.
Gabe, I've had more people in airports buy me drinks for being the chairman of the American Royal than being part of ownership of Sporting. Yeah. Back
That's
when
pretty cool.
back pre-COVID, when you'd sit in a bar waiting for your flight. Yeah.
And I'm assuming you would say that Kansas City has the best barbecue in
Hands down.
the country and the world.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close. Like, now I will. Forrest, did you grow up in Nevada?
Yes, born and raised in Vegas.
Okay, so I lived in Summerlin for about a year,
Oh, really?
and in 2000, and had a house up in Red Rock
Yep.
Country Club up there, and one night I wanted to grill out, and I went to the store. I can't remember what the store was. They didn't have any ribs. There weren't any baby back ribs in the. This was in 2000 in the grocery store, and they looked at me and like, I want a barbecue. And they're like, I don't understand what you're talking about.
Oh, criminal.
So Vegas has come a long way since then, but 20 some years ago, there weren't a whole lot of backyard barbecuing going on.
It for sure has. Yeah. My mom and stepdad, still go back to Kansas City once or twice a year, and they always go to the place. It has like a number in the name.
What? It's a Q39.
Yes, they swear by it. My stepdad buys a bunch of their sauce and checks it in his bag back. And I guess Andy Reid, that's his spot.
There's so many good ones.
Can't go
Meat
wrong.
Mitch just opened up in Kansas City, so I got to give a plug for Meat Mitch. Now, in fairness, I might own a little itty bitty piece of it, but he started just as a gentleman barbecuer at the American Royal, and his party blew into huge parties, and George Brett was showing up, and his food was amazing, and now he has one of the best barbecue restaurants in Kansas City. There's so many good ones. It's hard to say which is better. Like,
Right.
Gates is fantastic, Jack Stack's fantastic. They're all great.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like the Meat Pies podcast is going to be making a trip to Kansas City sometime in September, I think, and maybe we'll bring the rest of the Zimmerman gang along with us too. They'll show us the ropes. But I think that's probably like a perfect place to leave it. Meat Pies podcast, like best barbecue in the world.
Yeah.
I think it couldn't be any better. And it sounds like we got some important calls coming through. So thank you so much for joining us. We had a really good time talking to you. And we'll definitely be in touch.
Okay. Appreciate it, guys. Nice meeting you. Forrest, say hi to your mom.
I will. Thank you, Greg. Have a good rest of your day.
See you guys.